Hi guys, I'm here to talk to you about fractions this morning, and I'm going to go through some vocabulary words for you and give you some really brief examples. I'm not going to go into too much detail about everything today because I'm going to try and make some videos specifically on each of these topics, so that if there's one area that you're really struggling with, you can go to that video. So this is just a general overview, and when you're coming up to your test, it's a really good time to watch this video again and make sure that you understand what each of these terms actually mean. Okay, so we're going to start with, I'll read them out firstly. We've got numerator, denominator, vinculum, equivalent, simplest form, improper fraction, and a mixed number. Okay, and I'm also going to go through some common fractions with you as well that you may find come up every now and then. Okay, so firstly, I've just got the fraction 2/5 up here, and something that's important to remember when we're talking about fractions is that we're really talking about parts of a whole. Okay, so the top number here is when we talk about the part, and the whole number, or the whole amount of things that's been divided, is the bottom number there. Okay, so parts are top, out of how many? The bottom. Okay, so numerator, and you may know this already, hoping that you do. Okay, sometimes in the videos, just to save me writing the whole word numerator, you might see me write the word, the letter capital N, just to save me some time. Okay, the bottom here we've got denominator. Okay, and likewise capital D if I need to. And here, this line that divides the numerator and the denominator, we've got the vinculum. All right, so I covered those three. Okay, equivalent fractions. Equivalent fractions are two sets or more of fractions that actually mean or have the same value, okay? And you know that they have the same value because on a number line they would sit in exactly the same place, okay? So I'll give you an example. 1/2 is equivalent to, and we would write equal to, 2/4, okay? So they mean the same. You could also continue on, so as I said, it can be two or more sets of fractions, and say that 3/6 is the same as well. Okay, so they're all equivalent fractions. As I said, I'll go into those a little bit further down the track with videos. Okay, you can get equivalent fractions when you're changing them, which is one of the really important skills when we do fractions, by multiplying the top and the bottom number, or dividing the top and bottom number by the same number. Okay, that's really important. You can't use one number to times the top and then a different one to times the bottom, or divide. It's got to be the same. So here I've times the top and the bottom by 2, okay? And here, going from here to here, I've times the top by 3 and the bottom by 3, okay? As I said, you can also divide when you're making your fractions smaller as well. Okay, on that topic, we're going to go into, we won't cover that one, we're going to talk briefly about making a fraction into its simplest form, all right? And that's very similar to finding an equivalent fraction. When you're making something into its simplest form, you're finding the smallest equivalent fraction of the one that you started with, okay? So simplest form, for example, we might go 2/8 and it might say find the simplest form, or break that fraction down into the simplest form, and you're going to divide the top and bottom by the same number so that you can't divide them anymore by any number. Okay, so I'll give you an example. Here, if I divide by 2 and divide by 2, I've got 1/4, 1/4, okay? And that's changed, that's an equivalent fraction to this one here. These two are the same as each other, okay? That's a really, really important skill, all right? So a fraction at simplest form can only be divided by the number 1 to make it smaller, and in that case it wouldn't make it smaller because 1 would just have it the same. If you can divide it any further, top and bottom, by any number other than 1, providing that you do it the same, the top and bottom, that's when you would have a fraction in a simplest form. Okay, I'll just pause it briefly so I can clean my board off. Okay, welcome back. So we just have 2 more that we need to go through today. As I said, just a brief outline. of fractions and the common terms that we're going to come across. So improper fractions and mixed numbers, okay? A proper fraction, firstly, is when you have the numerator, the top, is smaller than the denominator. And proper fractions are probably, to begin with, the most common types of fractions that you'll be working with, okay? So this is a proper fraction, as I said. And an improper fraction is when you have the numerator that is larger than the denominator, okay? All right, and the last one that we need to cover is a mixed number, and that's a whole fraction, a whole number I should say, that goes with a smaller fraction, smaller than 1. Okay, so for example, you might have 1 and 2/3, oops, 2/3, and that's a mixed number. Okay, and you can switch between these two, okay, by doing a couple of really easy steps that I'll show you in a later video, but you often have these having the same value as each other, but you'll need to change between them. As I said, I'll show you that a couple of videos later. Okay, so just briefly, before I finish, some common fractions that you'll be working with is things like a half, 2/3, 1/4, let's say 1/6 or larger. What were my other ones? Perhaps 1/5 and 1/10. Okay, and hopefully in class you will go through how to order those on a number line. That would be a good skill to practice if you're not sure how to do that. Okay, trying to work out which one is larger than the other, because sometimes with fractions it's really easy to think that because the denominator is a large number, so 10 for example compared to 2, you might think that 1/10 is larger, but that is a common error. Okay, so you need to be aware of what fractions mean in terms of their size or their value, and make sure that you can number those accurately on a number line. I would highly recommend that you do that before a test that you may or may not have towards the end of term. Okay, thanks boys, good luck.